So I'll see if it's time to get live here. Let's see here. There we have it. Okay. There's no one. Oh, well, maybe one of you have showed up already. I forgot to advertise it early, so to speak. So this will be Photoshop again. So I'm going to work on maps for next week's and probably the next month's game sessions and future game sessions as well. Something that I call the Dragonhide Caves. I'm going to tell all the stories about this too. As we go along here, I'm just going to drink a little bit of iced tea. It's hot in Southern California today. We've had like 90 degrees something, so it's been nice and toasty the way I like it. So I have to have fans on and stuff, so I hope it's not you can hear any noise or something in the background. Okay, so I'll wait. We don't have anyone shown up yet, so I will just start working on stuff here. So I have the area in question here is a little bit in what I call the Syrian Hills. We're in southern Shieldlands, and this is the area that I'm interested in, and I've already created kind of I would say course or kind of a cutout of the mountain, so to speak. So I created a layer that kind of cuts out the cutout on in the hills here at a certain elevation, and then I made a placeholder for the caves here, for the cave system. And then I've simply selected the area around this, and then I copied two layers. I copied one with the caves and then one without the caves. And now I'm going to, well, the resolution of this is 1 pixel is 5 feet. And now I want to turn this into dungeon maps. So I'm going to increase the resolution from 1 pixel per 5 feet to 10 pixels for 5 feet. Because the caves are so big, so any higher resolution will be so big. Hi Troy, welcome. Good to have you here. So I'm working on the Dragonhide Caves tonight in Photoshop. So yep. And I'm drinking iced tea because it's kind of nice and toasty in Southern California, so I have to have some iced tea and have the fans on, so I hope it doesn't make too much noise in the background. Okay, so I've exported first the hills, and then I've exported another layer with the cave cutout in. And what I need now is to increase these by 10 times. So I take image size and I go from percent to 1000% in both directions, and then I increase it like this, and here we go. This gets a bit blurry, but that's what we're going to fix. We're going to add in detail and all that stuff inside the caves here, and then keep the terrain around it. And now I'm just gonna save this as here. Hi, I just saw your comment. So yep. Hi to you, Vicinius Gomez de Alcantara. I'm sorry if I botched your name. It's wonderful to have you here. And I saw your comment and about the textures of my Earth map. That is just me doodling around in Photoshop. So hi Mad Fergie. Nice having you here. So I'm just gonna save here, so because I did one test of this before like a good cooking show, I tested out and save it, but I didn't get any further, so to speak. So yeah, so tonight's mission is to make a dungeon map out of the Dragonhide Caves. And the Dragonhide Caves are my invention, and so let's look into the story and where we are and stuff. So this is something for my campaign and for future D&D in a castle next year, so don't tell anyone that this will be on YouTube, so there will be some spoilers maybe. We'll see. I might redo the caves for next year's D&D in a castle. We'll see. So this area I'm working on at the moment here is the Syrian Hills. So it's here just northeast of Syrian Keep. This is the area in Greyhawk. So we're in the middle of the setting, and this is for my campaign and for a bunch of future games and stuff. So, and this will be available for my patrons and then for everybody as well going down. So then I'll take in this is the same area we looked at on the big map. I have it here, and then I simply taken these hills here and made a cave in them. So there is a cave system in here. So now I want to take these from the landscape scale of 5 feet per pixel and make it into a kind of an overview dungeon map with 10 feet or 10 pixels per 5 feet. And the story behind these caves are that there's a couple of natural caves, like 2 or 3 areas of natural caves that someone kind of chopped out the connections in between and then turned them into a kind of a defensive place where they used to hide from Dragotha and Kirapti's rule about 2,000 years ago, or over 1,800 years, like 1800s minus 1800 BCY or something like that. So it's about almost 2,000 years ago. So these caves have been here for a long time. So the first mission here is to look at the, I think I'm going to paint a mask over this area so we can kind of, I'm not really sure what we should do here. I think I'm going to, let's see how I want to attack this. First, let's clean up the, no, I'm going to make a layer with texture that I can actually use, that is on the so I put a mask on for this. That will take another 20 minutes, but it's probably a good thing to do, or a necessary evil, so to speak. So I'm going to do white and black, and then I'm just going to fill this with white and put a mask on here. There we go. Then I'm going to take pencil tool and check that I have the, yeah, this is probably good. And then I'm just gonna go around here and paint in the mask. I tried to use, that's what I tried earlier on, to actually use the mask from the previous large scale, but it didn't work out well. And I've also, we can look at the grid. I set the grid to 10 pixels. So here we actually have 5 feet hexes, and like you see, the map actually breaks down when you go in. So we have to make a new map on top of this in order to make it look better. But I'm going to remove the grid, or hide the grid for the moment, because we don't need it. And this is about actually taking the existing or doing a better thing. So now I'm just gonna start painting in the actual mask here. This can be used so I can get the texture for the rock itself and for all the other stuff. I don't need to be super precise. Just be general here. Probably need to have it a little bit smaller. Now I have a doggy that wants to get down, so I need to help her down here. There we go. Okay, I hope all of you doing well tonight and have a good weekend to look ahead to a nice weekend. I don't have that much streams or anything like that, so for me it will be a working weekend with maybe some hiking or something as well. I'm going to be rough. The important bit with this is that it's a continuous line, because then I can just use the fill function, so I don't want any leakage. That's why I'm using a fairly wide brush, so that way I can make sure that there's no leakage, because then I can just fill the whole thing afterwards here. And I can just be a little bit rough. And I actually use the height map to get this originally. So it actually, if I put it on a 3D model, it will actually be a cutout at the right height, so to speak, which is important if you want to see the caves in full 3D, which is one of the things that I want to do, like an isometric map, or show the cutout on a landscape map as well, and not only top down. So therefore it's important to use the height maps to select the original mask. That's why it's so very little details in and out, because the mountains here are full of cliffs and whatnot, so that's why it's kind of a lot of these little nooks and crannies. It's like coastlines. They are fractally based, so the closer you look, the longer they get, so to speak, because you get more and more of these little things. And here's where I need to get proper openings and stuff drawn. So that's the next project, is to actually define the caves themselves in more detail than this. And I might also change a few things, because these have been floating around now, so all my players might have seen them, so therefore I can have some tweaks and changes to them, so there will not be too many spoilers. And I'm just using white. I could use any color in this instance, because I'm just going to style the layer depending on what use. So this is just to create the mask, so I know where the actual cutout is. Oops. And the good thing is, since I'm painting using a mask, I can just take black and erase what I'm painting. That's a good thing. I just use the X key, or I have it mapped X on my Wacom tablet, so that way I can very easy just undo things. And now I'm worst when it comes to paint straight lines. I'm not used to straight lines. There we go. And this is so boring, so if all of you leave, I will not be surprised, because this is kind of boring, but it's the life of a fantasy cartographer. Sometimes you have to do these kind of tedious things that takes half an hour, 45 minutes, or sometimes a whole day of tedious work like this at times. And sometimes it's more brain power than sometimes it's just finger dexterity and super boring and just tedious, and sometimes it's thinking and trying to solve problems. So it goes all over the board. That's one of the interesting things. It's that some of it is just tedious, and some of it is very kind of intricate, trying to solve program issues, and then it's so artistic. Now I need to zoom out again, so I'm making sure that I'm actually doing, yep, I'm on the right spot here. So So this is where I normally, if I don't stream, I would listen to podcasts or something like that, an audiobook or something. When I do this. And now we're about 1/3 through here, so another 10-15 minutes. We're done with this bit here. I'm going to, that little bit there can be useful, I think, so I'm going to actually make use of it. There we go. There. Hang on a second. It's made a mistake. I should not follow the interior. It's the exterior mask I'm doing now. And one of the tricks here is to have a Wacom tablet where you have the shortcuts for panning and switching colors and stuff, so you don't have to fiddle around for a keyboard. You can just click on the Wacom tablet. That way you don't have to look down. You can just look at the screen and just paint away. But I found that I'm actually holding onto the Wacom pen much harder than I would hold a normal pen, which means that I get cramped if I can paint for like 30 seconds or so, then I have to kind of release a little bit. I don't know why I'm doing it. It's so sensitive, so it's not necessary. It's not technically needed. It's just that I seem to psychologically do it for some stupid reason. There we go. And I kind of designed the area that the caves cover for a lot of specific reasons. So I'm going to show that as soon as I'm done with this and we can kind of look that. I'm using the, let's see here, the Intuos Pro, and it's the mid-size one that is probably about 14 inches across, I think. Something like that. So it's the mid-size. I think they come in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. And then I also have an Intuos the 16 Pro that has a screen built in, so you can actually draw on the screen, but I rarely use that. Sometimes it's nice to sit and draw on the monitor itself, but for most of the stuff I do with textures and stuff, that super precision is not really needed. So most of it, this is probably the most precision I actually need. Most of the stuff I'm doing is texture, and if you do a little bit on the side, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's actually preferred. So therefore I'm using the little Wacom tablet that doesn't have a screen, but I have a Wacom 16 Pro as well that has the 16-inch screen with a Wacom in it. I think the Bamboo, whatever it's called, is the cheapest, and from what I've heard, it works really well. But I couldn't do any of this without a Wacom tablet or something similar. Now there are Huons and whatever they're called. There's some other brands too that are good. So for this type of work, I think you can get almost anything. It doesn't need to be super precise. If you make cartoons or more detailed illustration work, then you really need the best tools. For this, it's something that is fairly okay. It's probably good enough. But to be able to draw with a mouse will be completely useless. I use my Wacom like 4 hours a day or something like that, 3-4 hours a day On an average day, I use it at least a couple of hours a day. That's on average, because you get so much precision and speed compared to using a mouse. And one of the other kind of interesting little bits is that I'm kind of ambidextrous, so I'm using mostly my left hand when I'm using a Wacom, when I'm drawing and using a Wacom tablet, and I'm using my right hand when I'm using a mouse. So I can actually sometimes just shift between, I hold on to my pen in one hand, and then if I want to use menus and stuff, I just go and use the mouse with my right hand without letting go of my Wacom tablet or my Wacom stylus. And if I get really tired in my left hand with Wacom, then I draw using my right hand as well. So I can use both in a pinch. Yeah. Now we're almost done. We're like 75% done, I think. And then I hope I've actually made it solid so we can just fill it without any leakage. We'll see. There we go. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I'm fairly ambidextrous. Yeah. Yeah, I have one of these. I'm left-handed. My brain hasn't shifted, so there's like chaos. My different hemispheres in the brain are not specialized, so it's kind of chaos in there, I guess. I did that test when I took my pilot's license and all that. I did some EEGs and stuff to verify that I was sane, so to speak, and then they found that out that my different parts of the brain actually share workload more than in usual in than normal people do. Yep. Hi Asher. Yep, it's cave day today, so it's yeah, I'm working on my dragonhide caves that I will use for my campaign and will hopefully be a landmark that others can use too. And now we're gone the whole way around. Okay, so let's see if we can simply fill this. Tolerance 1. Nope, that didn't work. That didn't work. Okay, then we just continue to add a bit more here then. Yeah. That's the boring bit. There's something leakage. So we do one bit here that is a little bit bigger. Yeah, this is the tedious when you do stuff like this. It's kind of what I'll do is that instead of doing big bits, I do small bits here. Oops, not click. I need to. There we go. What the heck? I have the wrong setting here. So tolerance. That should work. Is it in reverse? Maybe. Is it in reverse? I'm not sure. Nope, it doesn't work today. It used to work, but it doesn't work today. So okay, so then I simply do I fill in little bits by hand. I'm sorry, I should have done this earlier because this is kind of way too boring to watch. But I guess if if you want to see how boring my job can be at times, this is a perfect example of how terribly boring it could be. And I'm just gonna take some of the corners here and fill them up. Then we can do a big square in the middle, so that's easy. It's the the corners, so I should just resize the brush here, and then if I'm going around aimlessly trying to to fill things, it's because there's some little dirt on my monitor, I realize. So therefore I'm thinking it's when I paint with white. Thank you, Asher. Yeah. So there are some little spots on the monitor, so I think I haven't covered them, but they're actually just spots. Now I can do, and now I feel like my chair is not in the right spot here, so I need to move forward a bit. There we go. Now I sit better. There we go. Thank you, Tulio. Yeah, yeah. It's sometimes it's kind of these boring, tedious stuff, but the fill function in Photoshop used to work, but now it doesn't work for some stupid reason. I don't know. They've updated Photoshop, so maybe they've broken it. So I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. So now I just need to the second go around is just to straighten out the line, so I get all these nooks and crannies filled in. And now I'm going to put my right hand on the keyboard where I can resize the my pencil in, so I can make it larger or smaller on the fly here. So I'm just gonna fill in these little nooks and crannies. That's it. There we go. And this must be meditative. Yep. Now I can take a big one here and just make sure I straighten out the corners here. I can probably make it even bigger. There we go. This is a good way of training your eye-hand coordination. There we go. Yes, Voxy. Yep. Oh, yep. The Greyhawk. When I run games, I run them in Greyhawk. I play in a lot of other stuff like Pathfinder, like Golarion, and stuff, but any various homebrews. But when I run games, I want to run them in Greyhawk. No, the Azure. No, I have a cloud subscription. It's like 55, $60 a month. And for a lot of other normal people only use it occasionally, it's probably not worth it. But for me, it's definitely worth it because I use it several hours a day, and it's good because that way I get new features and some online storage that I rarely use. But I actually use several of the apps, so I use like 3, 4 of the apps. I use Illustrator and Photoshop daily, and I use InDesign at times, and I use some of the other apps occasionally too. So it's actually, for me, it's actually worth it, I think. So even if it's costly, and they do update them on a regular basis, and they're actually really good, and they're stable and stuff. So yeah. Yep, and I also participate in some of the panels and stuff like that. So Adobe, I'm invited to be on Zoom calls and do research, and I get to see some of the new features and stuff, and get to tell them what I want and what I don't like, etc. So to some minuscule, I have a tiny little influence on the future versions of it, so to speak. So at least I'm one of the power users of these tools. Yep. If you only use it occasionally, then you should use GIMP, because GIMP is free, and it's good enough for two-thirds of what I would do. It will be, or at least half of it would be equally useful to use GIMP. So it's GIMP's works well, and even the latest versions have become much better to use and easier, because before the menus were so confusing and it looked like old crappy application, but now it actually looks professional and it seems to function really well. It's like Blender have been in the 3D world. Blender is actually seems to be in many ways the best application, even if it's for free. It is the best app in many ways. Yep, yeah, GIMP is good. No, PDF tools are worse, I think, when it comes to freeware. So I use, since that's one of the other tools I use a lot, is Adobe Acrobat Pro, since you can do a lot of stuff, because I often do PDFs. So since that's part of my how I deliver a lot of content is in PDF, so therefore it's one of the really useful tools. Yep. Definitely. PDF is such it's a tedious and difficult format, and kind of clunky, but it is the best if you want to distribute graphics with a lot of fonts and text and whatever, and you want to make sure it looks the same on every device. Then PDF is the thing. If you still want to include vector art like symbols, heraldry, and stuff, then PDF is the thing. That's the way to go. So, oops, there we go. Next time I can take a much bigger brush. I just want to straighten out the nooks and crannies here. And then we can just paint using like a 1000 pixel brush at the end here on the third turn. Okay, now I have a doggy that wants to go back up again. Okay. Oh, there we go. So, and then she wants her treat. I guess I have to set up my webcam or something like that for when I do this too. We'll see. In the future I can maybe get some better green screens and better webcam and stuff. But I also want to make sure that I save on resources, because when I stream a lot of when I get a better computer, I can probably then I can start using webcam and all that, and do proper streaming setup. Now I want to save as much of the CPU cycles. Yeah, yep, she needs all her treats. Yeah, now I want to save all the computer capability to actually run the apps and do the streaming combined. So to add another video feed into it and stuff, that's will probably overwhelm my 5-year-old computer. Yeah, times like these are tough when it comes to computers. So I've actually not going to renew the lease on my car just to sacrifice car ownership, and I've bought a mountain e-bike so I can have a bike instead, and skip my I will skip having a car for a couple of years so I can get a better computer, because cars just cost me money and computers I actually earn money on having, and I need a much better computer so I can render faster and work on bigger things and do better streams and stuff like that. So yeah. So it's, but right now it's almost impossible to, even if I had the money, it's not the time to buy a computer. So I'm going to wait like maybe 6 months or something like that, save up and get something real good again. Like I did. This is a 5-year-old computer and it's still okay. I changed the graphics card though, so I have a new 3080 Ti graphics card in it. So the graphics card is up to date and really good. But the rest is 5-year-old 4-core CPU, so it needs to be. I need a better one. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now I can do this. This was. I'm a little bit sorry here because this was not what I intended, but I'm stubborn because I want to do these cave maps, and it's also a little bit of a learning learning session for me, because this type of mapping I'm not doing that much. I haven't done it much, so I need to work on it more than usual, so to speak, because this is out of my comfort zone a bit. So I need to get better so I can do this more often and frequently, and because I want to map every location we use in the game in my campaigns. I want to map it because I want to, both for my own games and then for games I might run at conventions and stuff down the line, and for my patrons and all the other fans who want to see more Greyhawk content. So therefore I want to map a lot of the content here. So there we go. And if you have to tell me if this is way too boring, then we switch to do heraldry, or we can do splat maps instead. Those are the other projects, because I'm not going to spill the beans on Hipmona Land just yet. That will be a map live stream in probably a couple of weeks. Next week is a fantasy mapping show with Alyssa Faden and Jay, and we will have Joe Wetzel from Inkwell Ideas, the ones that do Hexographer and Worldographer. They will be, and we will talk about hex mapping and hexes in fantasy cartography. And so that will be next week. But the week after, I might, or the week after that, I will. Then there will be a session on finishing up the new terrain map for the that might spill over. I've always said that will be the 2021 version of the map, but it might actually be the 2022 version. We'll see if it might slip over to next year before it's released. We'll see. I'll try and have it done in December, but we'll see. Yeah. So there will definitely be mapping live streams where I work on more on Hepona Land and all the other stuff on the updated map. So this is, but sometimes I guess it's good to see that this job can be boring and tedious too. And a lot of it is research too. But that's the good thing with doing maps like this, when you do stuff that are basically are not, they are kind of just added onto the setting, so it's kind of homebrew added content to Greyhawk. It's not depicting published content. It ties into the story though, but it's stuff that I invented myself for my own games. That means that you don't have to do that much research, but I tend to do a lot of research anyway. But you don't, it's not, you can just do things that are cool for your games. So that might be another idea for a future live stream, to sit and just read and talk about it. We'll see. Yeah. Now I've done about half of this, so yeah. And now comes an easy bit here. Now I can just make a much bigger brush here and just paint in the... This is an easy bit here. The good thing with work like this is that it's hard to start getting going. I usually have, it takes me half an hour to an hour to get into a work session, but once I'm into it, it's very seductive, trance-like. It's almost like some sort of therapy when you keep doing it and just listen to music or an audiobook or something. Then it becomes very relaxing, and I can do it for like 4 hours or something like that. Then I need to break off and do something else, or go out and do something, or just do something for an hour or two and then back at it again. Yeah. Thank you, Mad Fergie. Yeah, I hope that it can be kind of the new, the standard map in the community, so to speak. And that's a big responsibility, because I need to make sure that the public version of the map is something that is widely accepted and liked by at least a wide majority of people in the Greyhawk community. And then I have another campaign, my own campaign version of the map, where I've kind of gone overboard and tweaked it way more to my own campaign. But it's important to have something that could be a standard reference tool in the Greyhawk community. And I think the map now works as that. It's become a de facto standard in the Greyhawk community, and I'm very, very proud and so happy for that. And also, one of the things going in the future, when I'm starting to use more GIS and stuff, is that it should be easier and cheaper and faster to require no fancy expensive Illustrator tool to actually make your own version of them. So that's one of the maps. The tweak ability should increase in future editions. So people that want to, DMs that want to make their own version of the map, should find it easier to make their own version of the map. And that's another thing I will launch when I'm done with the new version of the map. So this winter sometime, I will upgrade or tweak my Patreon, so there will be at least 5 slots. I think there will be $50 a month. And if you want me to maintain your own version of the map, so I will basically work 1 day a month to update and change and tweak and do whatever you want with your version of the map, so to speak. So you basically hire me to upgrade and maintain your campaign map, just like what I do for J. Scott at Lord Gusumba channel, so to speak. So 1 day a month I will work, and we can either sit and do it on the Zoom session, or people can just send me change lists and stuff like that on an email, or however you want to do it, so to speak. But people that want to they game a lot and want to have their own personalized version of the map, that might be something to look into. So I'm going to start out having five slots for that, and 1 slot is already, and 1 extra slot for the for one person that actually won it in a raffle at Lord Gusumba channel. And I will do 1 raffle next year too, so I will have like 7 people, that up to 7 people that I can work. So I can work basically 1 week a month on maintaining that. But for me, that will be good, because that will be some extra hundreds of dollars of extra income for me. So it's definitely worth it, doing fun stuff and helping people do their own version of the map. So I think that can be fun. But I want to have the new version of the map to start with, so to speak, so we have a real fresh. And there will be a 576 or a 598 version, and you can kind of pick which one you want to start tweaking, and then we can go from there. So that is coming. That might be a $10 version too, where I have some special kind of early looks at concepts and stuff like that for people who just want to say that they are my top patrons or something like that. We'll see. I might add a tier of that too, for people that want to have their logos on my maps and a few stuff, a little bit stuff like that. There's been some people have asked for a more expensive tier with cooler perks, so we'll see what I can come up with. Yeah, now we're soon done with the straightening out the lines here, so there we go. Now we can actually finish up this damn thing, and it's taken almost an hour. I'm very sorry for this. I thought if I knew that this couldn't be done automatically, which I think it can. I think it's just some other hiccup that I've done wrong, but it usually works, but today it doesn't work, so that's stupid. I would have done this before. So, and these caves will be where the character will come and celebrate Needfest in an old faith druidic get together, so to speak, with some extra spiced up cool stuff happening, with a bunch of IUCN hobgoblins and stuff on the outside banging on the doors. That's the plan for this event that is going to unfold. So we are like a week away from Needfest in the campaign right now. So the characters, one party has actually just arrived, and another party are 5-6 miles away from the caves. And in my campaign, 5-6 miles can be there can be a lot of dangerous terrain to travel to pass across, especially when there is lots of IUCNs and other thugs roaming the countryside. So I'm just going to take a little bit of iced tea here again. There we go. So now oh yes, we're almost done with the tedious bits here. So now I'm just gonna fill out these little nooks here, and we can be done with this. Have a little bit bigger. There we go. So, okay, now I'm going to save here just in case. So don't lose this. Okay, that was quick. Okay, now we can make it much bigger. Can make it like that big, I think, and just go over the bits here. This will be quick. Things go much faster when you can use a brush that is a couple of 200 pixels wide. Then it's much quicker. And I can probably do some even bigger at the end here. Just fill in mid gap. So yeah, yeah. You asked before if I'm only running games in Greyhawk, and yes. And the reason people often ask me, well, what's so special with Greyhawk? And to be honest, I'm not so sure that Greyhawk is that special. It became special for me. It was the setting I discovered when I started playing games, and then it's the setting I fell in love with. And I don't think it's because Greyhawk is that much better than Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance or any other D&D setting or game setting. It's just that the ones you kind of moved into, you know it, and it's much easier that way. I don't have to study things again. So it's a little bit out of, it feels like it's my home now, my game home, so to speak. And that makes it easier for me. I know a lot of the stories. I know my way around, and that means that I can reuse a lot of my efforts. So that's the when you get lazy, if you move around too much, then I have to study things. I have to reinvent the wheel and stuff. So therefore, I think it's kind of it's part laziness and part nostalgia kind of thing. That I think that's why I'm sticking to Greyhawk, and also the wonderful community of Greyhawk gamers. That's another really big reason. But there are probably a lot of other awesome gamers for the other game settings too. But you get a lot of friends and stuff in the community, and then you tend to want to hang around with them virtually or at conventions and stuff. Okay, now we're almost done with this bit here. So that therefore I can just use. Okay, here we go. Here we have the area in question, and now I'm going to save again just in case. Okay. And now I'm going to make one setting, one for the, I'm going to actually map out the, so I'm going to just do this. So now we have the edges here. I'm going to duplicate this layer just so I have it and save that copy. And now I can apply the layer mask, and I can set the inner caves here and take the caves layer. I could hide it, and now we can start editing and see where we want to have. Now I'm going to put color overlay, and I'm going to use I have a standard signal. I use the pink kind of color just to get my signal color. Now I want to start refining where I want the doors and openings and stuff, because this is just harshly done, so to speak. So now I can just, hang on a second, there we go. Oh, it's only on the outside. Hang on a second here. Oops. Let's do undo, 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 and undo. Now I need to okay, we have the color overlay. Why is not the color overlay? Oh, it's overlay. Should be normal. There we go. Now I need to delete the layer mask, and then we have, I should have it. There we go. Now I have it. And then now I can paint in white, so we can just paint in where I want the caves to be. So I want a small little opening here, just because now we need to start looking at, if I put the grid here, we can see here I want a couple of, I can just actually add the caves in here like this. And then here I'm going to make it, I'm going to make this is actually a place where I'm going to make the opening here. There will be the opening. And here will be, on this side here will be a place where you can actually have arrow slits and stuff, so you can shoot out and cover anyone who approach the cave entry. You can actually shoot at them from the inside. So you have a second little nook here where you can actually shoot out and using or cast spells and stuff like that. And then I will put a door or some sort of barrier here, and then more arrow slits and stuff that way. That will be how this is done, so to speak. And then you have the entry chamber here, and then we have to start thinking about to have the actual to put some stairs or have elevation difference and stuff. I'm going to ignore the elevation differences for now. And now I'm going to see, so we have the entry cave, and then I will probably do some sort of slope up, and as a third way of blocking the entry, there will probably be like a very sheer cliff face here, and then they will hold down a rope or ladder or have some sort of stair or something that they can actually lower from above, and then they can raise it back up again as a third means of stopping entry into the caves. So and then I will just have a small little corridor that actually goes like this. And this is just a way to make sure that no one can be outside and just blast spells and stuff into the cave, and where you can have extra set of defenses, because these caves have been designed to be defensive in nature, so you can actually hold off an enemy from the outside for almost indefinitely. So they need to be very, very defensible. And then we can have here should be more kind of just openings, and the caves will go on like this and be 2-3 wide after that kind of entry in. And then we can be some side chambers and stuff here where guards and stuff can hang out and have their hidey holes and stuff like that. And then maybe we could have a little nook back here like that in, and then where you can have more arrow slits and have secret covers, and then have more ways of closing, because I want to have multiple ways of stopping the enemy as they advance into the cave, so to speak. And then when we had now like 4 or 5 layers of defense, now we can the cave can open up into, this will be primarily man-made, so to speak, and here opens up into a larger area that was originally part of the original cave that was natural cave, so to speak. So one of the first natural caves that is high up, and we need to detail it. So I'm just gonna make it bigger here, and now I need to put some scattering and stuff like that. So there we go. So we get a little bit of natural cave face. I'm going to actually put in some shape dynamics, and there we go. And then actually minimized it. There we go. So I get a pencil that doesn't bounce around so much. And now what I'm doing now is just defining where I actually want the caves. So here I have, there is the bits, and that is part of the actually rock, that is a rock pillar that goes between the floor and the ceiling there. And here is a huge one. Then we have to I have to come up with interesting things to actually fill this one with. So I have some ideas though. For first is defensive stuff, and then some of these will be have been used by druids and others for many years, for generations of druids and others, and some of them will probably be down there. There will be necropolis, an old Flan necropolis will be part of this. So back in the day, they actually buried their dead in here. They probably threw them into some deep pit, and that was a way to deny Keraptis and Dragotha the use of the bones and the to make sure that there were less undeads, so to speak. You don't want to give your enemy any weapons, and your dead is one of the things that can be turned against you in a fantasy world like D&D. So therefore you have to make sure that you don't give those resources to your enemy. Hi Gribbly, welcome. I'm working on the Dragonhide caves. Yeah, this cave is actually in, let me show you again here, because we might have some more who showed up here. So this cave is actually, it's for my own campaign, so it's here in the Syrian hills in the southern Shieldlands. So there we have the Syrian keep, and the caves are here. So let me now go back into here, and we can look at the more local map here, so to speak. So I'm going to zoom out, and here we have the southern Shieldlands. So here is the coastline, and Critwall is over here on the left, and Axport is over here, and the caves are actually in the hills here. So what I did was that I cut out this bit here and took it into a new file and enlarged it 10 times, and now I'm actually starting to detail the caves more than before. So this will probably be a 10-hour project or something like that to do. So it will be 2 hours tonight, and then probably about 8 hours or so more in futures. I'm not going to do these kind of little cave connections in the beginning because they're just tedious. I'm going to start thinking about the actual cave, the rooms. That was one entry, and then I'm going to have this area here. This is not an entry. This is just a place where there is little peepholes that people can actually, who are in the caves, can look out and check the surrounding terrain. So there's like just tiny little holes to look out, or you can cast spells or send a message using a bow or something like that, and an arrow, and shoot out. And I took the inspiration from that from the caves of Gibraltar, where there were actually Englishmen who the British prepared to lock themselves in caves in case the Germans came and took over the Rock of Gibraltar, and to actually hide in there and stay there for months if need be, and without any outside contact, and just use a little antenna to just signal with the surrounding areas. And they also had tiny little peepholes from those caves. So that's where I got the inspiration from. So here is one of these areas where the wall is thin, and there could be some little holes out into. So yep, thank you Gribbly. Yep. So now I'm just gonna say, so these can also be where they can where you can have some more guards and stuff hanging out. So I'm just gonna make some caves there and say, okay, there we have some caves for that end. And then I'm going to see, and here is another similar thing, but looking west. So here we have, I'm just gonna make small little thing, and I hope you guys can see the there's 10 pixels per 5 feet here. So there we have the scale of the thing. So there's like a couple of little holes here. So yep, yep, there were several places like that in World War II, like modern fortresses hidden away. There we go. And then we have the main cave in here with a couple of lakes and stuff in them. And then there's more peepholes to the out where you can see northwest down the valley. And then there's three cave entries. There's one cave entry here. There's one in the north, or maybe four. Let's say that there's one in that end and one here and one there. So it's you can come in from the north into the cave from the east and from the west, or the south and the west. And then there's different various other ways you can defend out, so to speak. But here is another, should be another opening coming down in the valley here. So I'm going to, and this opening might be smaller here, so I'm going to make it from here roughly. Then make it in there. So I make it like 10 foot wide maybe, and it's kind of hidden behind some bushes and stuff, so it's not visible unless you're really close. And just like the other one, I'm going to have a small little opening here, and then I'm going to say it's an opening straight, and then it goes this way. No, not that much. I'm going to have it straight like that back in. And then there is the another side thing here that opens out so you can look out. And then I'm going to separate these two here and say that you have here, and then so there is a small little, and then this actually leads, so you can actually be in another room here, and you can use the light yellow areas. That's just greenery. This is outside, so this is just grass and greens outside, and I can actually remove the cave. So here you see what the terrain looks like from outside. I'm going to actually remove the grid here so we see. So this is, you have a valley up here. We can actually look at it here. It's much easier, I think. So if I remove the caves here, so you can actually see the, and I can remove the selections. So here we have, on the left here, we have the Syrian Keep. So here is the Syrian Keep and some trails up there. So straight up through this valley into it, and here is where the caves are. So the caves actually start in here. So if I show the caves here, you see you have the caves in there, and then there is a hidden valley up here that is actually not visible until you get up into the mountains. So this hidden valley has several entrances, and there's another entrance into the caves, and there are some separate caves here too, and then there's one from coming up this valley from the south too. Oh, thank you. Yep. So I try to make these hills and this landscape really be a natural landscape, so to speak, that the caves kind of fit into the landscape. Because for me it's important not only to have the dungeons, but it's also to get all the dungeons to fit in because that should be part of the landscape. I'm just gonna grab some more iced tea. There we go. So now it's time to start details. So we have so here's another opening. So the opening is a center structure in here, and then you have arrow slits here, and there is a door opening here as well. So you can seal it off here, or probably here, and then you can have openings in here, and you can have, like, so people can, first you can shoot at people that are in this chamber, both from here and from here. And this is a position where you can't get to. These will just be tiny holes, so to speak. So it's more surface politics than in most campaigns, but there tend to be dungeon delving and kind of hanging around in various buildings and castles and stuff like that. We've had a lot of sieges, we've had assaults on castles and stuff, and dungeon comes and goes, so to speak. So this, if in this cave there might be 10 game sessions to actually adventure in these caves, might be an extended period, and they might be in here, have to defend against an army of hobgoblins and other Iusians, or that might go some other way, so to speak. So there's, this can go several different ways, but it's definitely something that can could be a long journey of several many sessions of actual dungeon play here. So, and then I'm going to make these a series of tunnels that goes like this, because these are cut out of the mountain, so to speak. There were probably some cracks and stuff in here, so they've actually added to it. And here I will have we will make some sort of moat or something, like a deep pit with the drawbridge across and something. So I'm going to add a bigger room in here. And here you can actually have connections, so you can actually have murder holes from the sides and from the top into this entryway in here. So you can actually shoot and get to the all the critters that need invaders that comes in this way, could be shot at and sent spells and thrown boiling oil and whatnot this whole way here. And you can put like various gates that opens from the other side and stuff, so there will be lots of, you can have a lot of obstacles here that you can, so that way you can make it really difficult for someone to get in. And then you can here have like a bigger chamber where you can have some sort of moat or something. You can have like a hole with a drawbridge or something where you can make it difficult to get over. But I want to make sure that you make it difficult for to enter the caves, because these caves are supposed to be very defensible. So this is what I'm designing the cave. So that was the entry in there. And then let's do, we have a couple of peepholes and stuff here too. So I'm just gonna add these in here. So I'm just gonna, there we go. Can make a little bit of a bigger brush. So I don't want these to be entryways, but there will be hideouts that you can actually use to supervise and strike back at intruders and make sure what happens outside, so you're aware of your surroundings. There we go. Yeah, I think I have a lot of surface politics in my campaign. It's very much about the power struggle between different factions and stuff in the world. Is very much what my campaigns are centered around. So a lot of fantasy politics, so to speak. And part of the what's key in my campaign is to pick the right enemies and the right friends. That is very much what the game is about. Here we should have the, hang on a second, I just need to make sure we got, there we got, yep. So we have some openings there, we can have an opening there. And this is a room with lots of pillars in here, so we can have a room of a bunch of natural pillars here. And I'm going to use different defenses on this one. So here we can say that the defenses are not originally, they're not used the same way the other ones. So here I might build defenses from the top, so to speak, and we build defenses further in. So we have the defenses here instead. So we can do like this here. And then we do a long, not that wide, it can be a smaller, so we just have a long corridor like this. That's the where all the people that comes from the outside, they have to go this way around. And then we have the opening in is actually here, and then we can have a second set of corridors or a room in the middle here that can have all the arrow slits, and any intruder have to run a gauntlet here, and you can actually open and close gates or something here, so you can actually take people through like a sluice system to get in and out. So it designed naturally around the cave here. And then we have an opening in there and an opening here, and then they go through a common one there. So oh, hi Angamharan. Yeah, this is it's the actual design of the cave. So these are the Dragonhide caves. So it's in part it's in the southern Shieldlands for my own campaign. So it's actually here in the Syrian Hills. We have the Syrian Keep, and it's up here in the Syrian Hills. So we have a cave system, and if you look at the regional map, it's up here in this area. I'm going to have them turned on. So it's up here, and you can see here on the mini map here, here's the Shieldlands coast. So it's up in the hills here. Are caves that are originally made by the Flan back a couple of thousand years ago to defend themselves, to hide in from Caraptis and Dragotha back in the day, so to speak. And I made kind of very superficial and crude layout of the caves. Now I'm detailing it. So here is the original image in the background. This image is 5 feet per pixel. So we now zoom in here, it's 5 feet per pixel. And this map I've actually increased, so now it's 10 pixels for 5 feet. So I can actually look at I can show the grid here, so we can actually look at it. So now I have 10 pixels per 5 feet. So this is going to be my encounter map, so to speak, or the exploration map for when they explore the caves. So I'm going to turn off the grid here for a bit. And so now I'm actually detailing the different entries and the how the look here. So yeah. Yep. So I can take the big area map and import it a bit, and then just blow it up 10 times, and then start using it as a dungeon map. And sometimes I'm lazy. I'm just taking this straight into Fantasy Grounds and just put counters on it and put a grid on it. But for this case, I actually want it to be a little bit more elaborate, because this will be a major location and start using it. So, and I forgot to say hi, Josh. Yep, good to see you here. So this is now I'm doing the actual kind of interior basic design, and then once I have the design, it's time to style it with textures and do elevation, put doors in and stuff like that. So now I'm going to actually so this will be a cave in here for other like guards and whatnot. So because these caves were originally, they were part of a natural cave system that had been extended and worked on over like a few centuries to actually be used as a defensive hideout during the reign of Dragotha and Caraptis back in the day. That's when these caves, that's why they're called Dragonhide caves, because they were used to hide from Dragotha under her, because in my campaign Dragotha is actually is a female dragon. She's extra nasty. So it was during her reign that and Carapta's reign that these caves were dug, expanded on, and were used by the Flan who lived here back then as a hidey hole for during those horrible, probably a century or two. And here there are some more peepholes out into the, so you can actually look out into the world and see what's going on outside. So I'm going to add these caves here, and then I will see if I do the whole thing in Photoshop or if I actually bring in some of these area by area into Dungeon Fog and then detail them in Dungeon Fog. That might very well be. So once I have done the overall design like this, then I can start thinking of the next technique, so to speak, and to do. So this is more kind of dungeon design than actual artistic. So right now it's kind of, I'm thinking about how this cave system needs to be, how I want it to be designed, and then I go in and style the details, or the style of it, so to speak. Yep. Yep. So that might very well, I think because I have a license of Dungeon Fog and I'm starting to like it. It has some quirks here and there, but I started to like it. So I might very well just take this as a blueprint and then use the Dungeon Fog to create the cool details. So then I will take each of these areas and blow them up in Dungeon Fog and use them. And that way I know it will match the terrain, so to speak. So I can go from world map to dungeon map fluently, and it will match, so to speak. So I will not be this elaborate. I will just take a map like this and just use it in Fantasy Grounds and play with it. But in this case, I want to be a bit more elaborate because this is one of these cool locations that I will go back to time and time again, I think. And also I want to see what's possible, and I also want to use it in my game in D&D in a castle next year too. So it's one of these locations I want to have for that game. That's why I want to detail it way more than I would do in for just a location that will be a fleeting location that the players will come to. So here we can have some bigger caves here that can be filled with all sorts of interesting stuff. So I'm going to expand a bit on the caves here. And then we have to look into elevation differences because I don't want this to be absolutely flat. I know that the exits here and the entry points are all at the same elevation, but then I want some of the caves in here to be much lower and some of the areas up. So I'm going to introduce up and down slopes, but that's the next step after this, so to speak. So now it's just a matter of doing some stuff here. Just want to make it bigger here. I add a few more kind of stone pillars and stuff because I think it's both cool, and I also think that some of the caves probably should have a little bit more support from the ceiling. But it also depends because some of these caves might be very tall, so to speak. So the caves are they might be several hundred feet tall. They might be taller than they are wide, and therefore they might be naturally arched and stuff like that. So therefore it's one of the other things to think about. Okay, so now we have that part of the cave. I'm sticking to that. And then we have, let's see, now we have this end here. And here we have another entry, I think. No, let's see here. Yeah, we should probably have the entry here, and then I'll do the various defenses here, and then we have these as other ways to look out. So let's do a smaller brush here. Let's have the entry there. now I need to cut off that bit here and just have a little bit of an opening there. Oops, and then goes like that. That is the opening, and now I need to, we have more of these kind of access way for the defenders to attack the intruders like that, and then we have a second here, and it can be an opening going all the way out there, and these are the defenders areas, and this doesn't need to be that big, so here they can be a narrow, hang on a second, I want to see the grid size here so we can see what we have here. So it's basically an opening that is it's a 5 feet opening here. So this is for foot soldiers only. There we go. And this can be simply run a gauntlet, oops, like that, and then we have a like that. Oops. There we go. And then these go in tandem here. They follow here, so we have these kind of there we go. And then we connect the two flanks of the guard room here. But when I do the final version when I add elevation, I will probably add a connection on top here, so the defenders can go across and they will have rooms on top where they can actually throw down various nasty stuff on top of the attackers that comes in here or people that come in. So there we go. Okay, that was that opening too. And then we have some more little, just these little holes where you can look out at the terrain. So I'm going to add these two. And these are kind of guard chambers where the people can hang out and defenders can be here and actually look at the terrain over extended periods of time. And here I'll connect them into a bigger guard room here where they can actually kind of live and do stuff. And then I will not have these wide connections, so I basically just have small little 5 feet wide connections here, or narrow connections rather than wide. So there we go. There we go, and then I can add around here, and we can then we add a little chamber on the way here. There we go. Okay, now it's probably time to save again. This is a small file, so it doesn't take that long. Normally I have files that are huge, so it can take minutes to save. But this is from my perspective, a very small file. Okay, now I think we got all the external connections done here. So now it's time to start looking at the main chamber. And I want to have, these are two areas where I have the lakes and there's like holes in, so these are many stories tall, so to speak, so they can even be structures and stuff in here if need be. So I'm going to just add these kind of huge chambers in here. So I'm just gonna paint in the areas here, the main room real quick, and then just go over the details of the walls and stuff. But this is a main chamber, and this one I want to be really tall, so it's definitely as tall as it is wide, maybe even taller. So it's like an A-shaped cave, so to speak, and the floor is in different elevations too. And now I can add in some, just fill in some little holes here, and then we have this kind of nook here where you have one of these main pillars here that goes. And I'm going to see if I can make it an elevation map of this, and or maybe a 3D view or something to sketch it out later. We'll see. Now I just want to get the overall layout so I know what to work with, so to speak. And these walls look a little bit too kind of boring straight, so I'm going to add in some more nooks and crannies here, like that. And then we have one connection there, we have one connection here, and then we have some hidden ones in here that I'm just going to add that we can probably reach from above or below. And I'm thinking some of them can probably be used as prison cells. You basically have a hole where you lower someone in, and then they have to be very good at climbing to get out. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, we have another half hour to keep working on this. So now that's the main chamber, and so we have two main chambers, and we have that one as a third and a fourth. So let's do this area here as one of the big cave rooms here too. Then it will be a bit of a challenge to fill this with interesting stuff, but this could be, it's been during the Ayusun range or his occupation. This have now become a center for the Flan and also the Shieland opposition. So the forces that try to liberate Shieland, so they have nested themselves in here. So the resistance is here. So we can, I'm going to make this kind of wider like this, something like that, and then we can make it a little bit so it's like 10, a little over 10 feet wide, 10-15 feet wide connections to the main cave there. Like that, yep. So, okay, then we have this area here too that I'm going to have as one of the natural caves, and all these main areas are basically natural caves that have been here, that then they cut out these connections from one to the other, and therefore they kind of extended the usability of the natural caves. There we go. then we make a little round here. I'll make this a little bit bigger because I think this could be a couple of natural connections here. So I'm actually going to fill out more of this here. Okay, and now we can start making the connections here. So now I can just take a little, make a connection cave in there. So there we go. And then we can make it one room here that is a little bit bigger on the way here. Then just connect, and then we have a little room here. Then we connect it to there, and a little room, and then make a connection and make a connection again. And don't make these straight, because I think that these were not done by dwarfs or something that had enormous capability. These were chopped out by ancient Flan, so they probably followed the path of least resistance in a lot of cases. So they cut through the rock that were easiest to cut through, and they follow some of the natural cracks and then expanded on it. So then we're going to put an expanded cave in here. Like that, with a smaller little connection, and then start making one here, and then we can make a fairly big cave in here, and then we connect them with a smaller. There we go. And then we can say that there is a cave in there. Might not be connected in any way, shape, or form, but there is a cave there for some reason. Okay, now we're almost there when it comes to the actual design of it here. And here we have another little bubble there. That's where creatures that dig naturally through mountains and stuff can actually hide out. Or it might be water filled or something. So, and then we make a bigger cave here. And these can be old lava tubes, some of them too, because this area is partially volcanic, so to speak, with White Plume Mountains and stuff. So there are areas of their old volcanism, but this is not actively volcanic. It's probably a combination of granite here and some hard rocks and some soft rocks. So some of it is sedimentary, kind of limestoney maybe, or something, and some of it is hard, and some of it is more like basalt and stuff. So it's a little bit of everything when it comes to rocks. So it's kind of a mishmash of stuff. And then we make it like that. So there we go. Now I think we connected these bits here too. And we have, I'm going to make this fairly big cave here. And one room there. And then have a connection between the two. And then just put this here. And then someone dug through here. This is me babbling again, but I'm waffling away as I'm working here. I'm just trying to think and doodle at the same time. There we go. Now I'm going to be more straightforward and just connect this with a fairly straightforward. We can add a little nook there, and so there we go. Okay, now we only have that bit here, and then we have the layout of the caves in more detail. So we have the layout down to a 5 feet layout. I'm just going to save here again while I'm at it. Okay, now I can make it a little bit smaller here and fill in these little extras, nooks and crannies. Here we have a hidden cave that no one has discovered yet, so to speak, but it's there. And then we can make one extra here, and then these are mainly 5 feet, so you have to kind of take turns, and it's a little bit harder to meet. And here we have a little bigger there. There we go. So I make it that it's actually an hidden thing in there. That might be one of these things that original defenders might have chosen to hide something in there that no one has discovered yet for a very long time. And then we can build some rooms here. So I think we have the layout of the main caves. Okay, so that is, now I want to add now it's time to put I'm going to call it lakes. Then I'm going to put in white, and then I'm going to add I usually just have a white, and then I'll add a color overlay. The reason for that is that then I can use it in World Machine as a mask if I want to and stuff. And now I want to have like a water overlay, so I'm going to something like that, so I can paint on textures and stuff on it as need be. And now it's time to hide this, and now I'm going to hide that layout. And now we're going to, I don't need to hide it, I should just tone it down to 10%, so we have, there we go, that much. So now we're going to get where we want water, so I'm going to add these 2 lakes here, decide where they are. And at least one of these lakes is going to be where I think the Urflan, or the Flan back in the day, where they actually disposed of their dead bodies. So these have a significance both religiously and ritually, but also in game terms, because they might be full of things that can be turned into undeads. So we have another lake here. So and now it might be time to start styling. I should probably see if we can style this. So I'm going to put this back in here. Now I'm going to save here just in case. Now it might be time to start looking for, we'll see if we can do some cool stuff with this. So I'm going to duplicate the layer here and hide the copy. And now I'm going to remove the color overlay, and it's time to start thinking of the pattern overlay here. Oh, we need to turn on the... Here we go. Let's see what we have here. That is... The scale is wrong on this, so we need to bring the scale down to something like that. Okay, and now I have the caves here. Now we should probably start make a dark layer just to and fill that with black, just so we have it in the background here. There we go. And now I'm going to hang on a second. Now I think we have, yep. And then I'm going to mask that off. So okay, so now we start having the actual cave system here. So now I'm going to save again just in case. Now we can do some cool stuff a little bit with this too. So we can just have an inner glow just to make it black, and we to darken, and there we go. And we don't need to make it that big. This is just to arrange. There we go. Something like that. That was an inner glow. We should probably have an inner shadow, but it's okay. We just do like that to begin with. And now I'm going to just take a peek at the... Oops, that was the... We should turn these off. There we go. So I want to have this one higher and have like a ridge here. Okay, so I'm going to skip that and just go with something that I feel is useful. So I'm just gonna save again here before I screw it up. Now it's time to start thinking a little bit about elevation in the caves. To start thinking about what is up and what is more elevated than others. So now I'm going to make another layer here, and it's an empty layer, and I'm going to rename it to shadow. And then I'm going to change the blend mode to multiply, and what I can do now is that I can take a brush, and I'm going to make a much smaller brush, really small brush, and paint with black and white and use very low opacity, and that way I can create the elevation shading. And then I have the I'm going to use the same shading, so this will be like if someone taken off the mountaintop, so to speak, so we can actually see the... And now I'm going to remove the grid because we don't need it for the moment here. Okay, now we can actually go in here and make the brush a little bit bigger, and I'm going to see texture. I'm going to do like that, I think, and 25. So this is a little bit of a guess. So I'm going to say that we need to, I want to have these lakes be in depression, so to speak. So I'm going to take some black and then just start painting it in here, and that is a little bit too much. So I'm going to, and as usual, I doodle so quickly that I normally press like paint 20 times before I even recognize it. So I need to go back, and here we have, so I'm going to start adding a little bit of shading here. So I'm just gonna add some shading like this, and then we can say that we have, here we have the opposite. So we have a little bit brighter here on the side. And the other thing is with this is that the darkness is usually much more potent, so to speak. So you need to have more opacity on the white brush than you have on the dark for some reason. So I'm just gonna add a little bit here. Hang on a second. Was it multiply? Was it overlay? Yeah, it's overlay. Sorry, I have the wrong. That's why I have the wrong. It's not. We can do it like that. It's actually not multiply. It's overlay. So that was my fault. So that's why it was so difficult. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes you forget. So now I'm going to add some simple white here. There we go. And then we can paint a little bit of then we can say that it actually continues back like that, and then these two kind of connect. So there we go. Now you can start to see that we actually create some difference in elevation. I'm thinking I'm going to add some more. So this is actually much deeper in that sense here. So I'm going to, and one of the reasons that I use the texture and stuff, because I don't want to, I want it to look a little bit more natural. So when you zoom in here, you actually get some, and I know you should not look at this at more 100% because then it just looks ridiculous. And this texture is just a placeholder, so I'm going to tweak it and make it better looking texture, or I will use it as the blueprint for actually putting it in Dungeon Fog. So this is just quick reference for elevation. So I'm going to say that this is so you have like a plateau here. There we go. And then this lake can be even further down here. So, and then what you can do is that you can actually tweak the texture as needed. So there I have the basic elevation in here. Now it's time to go here, and then I want to have this whole cave much lower. So I'm going to basically put in here, put in kind of a lower here, and then I'm going to put this here. Yep, and then I can add a little bit more just around here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think that covers the basic, but now at least I have the blueprint for the Dragonhide caves. I have the layout in more detail, and then what I need to do is I need to detail these rooms and put stuff in there. So I can either paint crude stuff like that in here in Photoshop, add like a sketch layer and stuff, and or I can take it into Dungeon Fog, take room by room here and make Dungeon Fog maps. I will try and sketch on it here in Photoshop and see if that's the way I want to go, or if I want to go the Dungeon Fog route. That will be something I need to experiment with a bit. But yeah, this is not my best work by any means. It's not professional standard, but it was a fairly quick and dirty way to actually create a set the full dimensions across. That's a good question. So if we take the we can actually take it's from 4,000 to 9 to 10,000. So this map is actually, see how many pixels it is. Image size, it is 11,400 pixels. So take 10, so it's 1150 squares. So if we take 1150 times 5 in feet, so it is 5,000, so about a mile. 5,750 feet from one end of the map to the other. So it's about a mile, almost a mile. Yep. Yep. From east to west on this map. Yep. So the cave system is probably about half a mile from one end to the other. And we have a little bit here that I haven't detailed tonight, but I will probably dig into that too. So, yep, yep. So that's that's the size of the cave complex. So now I'm going to save this again, so we have it here. Yeah, I think it's fairly reasonable. There are definitely caves that are in a mile across. There are caves that are many, many miles. I've been to the biggest, only real big caves I've been to in my life are in the Balkans. I've been to some caves there, and then we went probably, but that was on a tourist tour, so to speak. That was probably about a couple of miles in. And then I've been to lava tubes in Hawaii, about maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile. I've been to lava tubes in Iceland, and I've been diving in some mines I've been deep in mines in Sweden too, but I've also been diving in some old silver mines in Sweden. That was kind of fun. But those were dug out, so they were not natural caves, but they looked kind of very natural. They were old abandoned silver mines. So yeah, so this was today's escapade. So I hope it was not too tedious and you got a little bit out from it, so to speak. So this was taking an area map and then kind of dig out and do a set of caves or like dungeons and underdark that actually fits into the terrain and matches the terrain. And you can kind of, because I want the campaign to flow seamlessly from outside to inside the caves. So that's the thing. The caves are not just an abstract, they're actually located in the world in all dimensions and stuff. So that was it for this week. So I'm going to first now I'm going to throw my social links and stuff into the stream just so people have, in case someone watch this now or afterwards and want to support me on Patreon, or long before then just wonder what the heck I'm up to, what I'm doing and stuff, so you can kind of follow me there and a bit what I'm up to. And to on Sunday there will be a new Gabin. We will now I even forgot I forgot what we were doing, but we were doing something fun for Gabin. I'm sure. Hang on a second. Give me a second here, and I'm going to find out what we were supposed to talk about on Sunday here. So no, I don't have that right now. But we're going to talk about something fun on Gabin. So that is coming on Sunday, and then will be Legends and Lore next week, and also a fantasy mapping show with Alyssa Faden and Jay Scott and me and Joe Wetzel from Inkwell Ideas, and we're going to talk about hexes in on fantasy maps, and that will be hopefully a very interesting and fun show to watch. So that is it. So thank you everyone for hanging in here and bear with me doodling in Photoshop. So this is part of necessity to when you want to create your own map content and stuff for your own campaign, you have to kind of do stuff like this. So I'm going to this eventually the final result of this will be available first to my patrons and then to everybody on my site down the line. It might be a little bit because I need to refine it, because this is just the first step in creating the caves. They need a couple of more steps because before they're ready to use in gaming. So I'm going to end the stream here. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll be back soon on Sunday on Lord Gusumba channel, and then next week for more stuff on Lord Gusumba channel, and then it will be more map streams again. So have a great weekend everyone.